Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's going to be one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do in life, and that is forgiving, potentially saying you're sorry as well. Wasn't there a song by Elton John, Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word?
Yes.
Yeah. We know why. We're going to talk about that, forgiveness and gratitude today with Annie Baker Atwood, and she's all about energy healing, positive vibes, and she's all about redbootsreiki.com. Annie, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. It is very hot up here in Maine.
Yeah, how hot is hot?
It's been hovering just over, around 90.
Okay, I'm in the New York area, and it is 84 right now here. Wow, it's warmer up there.
Well, it cooled off a little bit today.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, my friend is up there, and he says that winter starts in October. That's what he always says.
This will be my first winter, my whole winter here. So we'll see.
I'll check back with you in a couple of months. Kind of curious. So, question, is there anybody in your life that you need to forgive?
That is a great question. And I think a lot of it starts with yourself. And forgiveness is an inside job. And that kind of gets forgotten because we're very transactional human beings. And so we want it to be something that somebody else does. Like, okay, I'm going to ask you for forgiveness and you're going to say, I forgive you. And then everything's going to be fine. In my experience, that's not really how it goes. Forgiveness starts within you. And I'm going to give you the example of how it shows up in dryer lint. So I have a beautiful, white blanket, wool, that came with my mother's house. And I don't think it had been washed in 50 years. And so, just gathered up a lot of residual dirt. It never looked dirty, but my cat started sleeping on it. And I thought, I'm going to clean this. So I stuck it in the washer, stuck it in the dryer. And this is how much lint was released.
From one blanket?
From one blanket.
That's a lot.
This is what was released, I don't know if you can see, just from a regular load of laundry.
Wow. Okay.
So clearly the blanket had taken on a lot of memories and just residual gunk and needed to release all of that. And forgiveness is very similar to that as well. We have experiences and we absorb certain mental loops from it. So if you have trauma, you've absorbed a mental loop of what happened, and it's very hard to let go of that mental loop and learn to let it go. Forgiveness is just letting something go. And it needs to happen regularly. Otherwise, we get, lint boy here. I talk about it as the difference between an ongoing relationship and the wedding. So sometimes people think of forgiveness as a one-time act. So weddings are typically, a one-day event. Well, in my world, it's usually about an hour. Episcopal weddings, 22 minutes. And then we have a lot of celebrating, but the actual ceremony is very short. So for a 22-minute ceremony, it yielded a 25-year marriage. And I don't think I was very good at, releasing stuff. And so it just got clogged and clogged and clogged until it wasn't functional anymore. And so I needed to learn how to release the cloggedness in myself without blaming him or anybody else, And that was hard to do. That was really hard to do, to say, this really had a lot to do with me. And that is one of the ways you know that you're ready to move forward, is when you can acknowledge a little bit about what was in me that was holding on to all of that, having a grudge. And then when were you able to release the grudge sludge? And once you're able to release the grudge sludge, you can move on. And when I'm working with clients, a lot of the grudge sludge is your personal narrative. And what I say is, a personal narrative is a habit, and habits can be changed. That is the best thing about habits. You can change them. But you have to kind of acknowledge that they're a habit first. So they may be lugging around a backpack full of grudge. They did this to me, they did this to me. Can you believe that happened? And they have packed this backpack full of stories that validate how wronged they were. And so I say, well, are you willing to put the backpack away? And most of them will say no. Like, okay, in the 80s, you could go backpacking around Europe, and in the train station, they had those cool lockers. And so you could put your big backpack in for, a day, zoom around the town, and then come and get it before you went off to the youth hostel. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but I'll ask, can you put the backpack in a locker just for a little while? Just to try it. You're not getting rid of it. You're just putting it in the locker. You don't need to worry about it. It will be safe. You can always go back to it. Usually I'll get a yes, I can do that. And then they feel lighter, freer. And my blanket is lighter. It folds better because it doesn't have any of that stuff in. Forgiveness is not about, you have to be friends, or I condone that behavior. It really isn't about that. It's freeing up space in yourself.
I'm glad you said that, Annie, that it's not about condoning what somebody did. And
no,
in relationships, it takes two, but it may be, realistically, it could be you're 30% and they're 70% of what the challenges may be. Whatever, kind of doesn't matter. But I guess the other great point is that they don't need to know that you're forgiving them. You don't have to call. All right, how you doing? All right, so I was talking to Annie a little while ago. Don't ask who she is. Really like her. She's really insightful. She says that I need to forgive you. I'm going to forgive you. I just want to let you know. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have that conversation. And I think that's the great part. But it's still not easy. So I love your backpack away for a little while.
And the other thing is once you have that space, you need to fill that space with something else. Usually I prefer gratitude, so that you can never have empty energy spaces, but you need to release, or drain the water out of the tub before you put in fresh water. Because if you just pour fresh water on old icky tub water, it's still icky.
Yeah.
And so you really need to clear it out and say, okay, yeah, that was a narrative that I had, that, I was the victim. And as soon as you decide you're a victim, you're toast. You are not operating at a really high vibration. And what's interesting, it is the stronger vibration, not the higher vibration, that wins out. So if you had, a boombox going and I had a boombox going, no matter what music, whoever could crank theirs the loudest is what you hear. And so if you think, I'm high vibrational, I can overcome anything. If somebody has a really strong low vibrational boombox going, it doesn't matter how high vibrational you are. You need to be able to turn that off before you can hear your own music. And that's something that they don't talk a lot about in, affirmations and, raising your vibration. Because a lot of people who explore, energy work, Reiki, etc., are typically high vibrational people who can't understand why they're so drained all the time. Like, oh, I'm high vibrational, I clear my energy. And if you are hanging out with a lot of low vibration and forget, to clean your aura every hour on the hour, set your timer, you're going to end up with, their ick in you because they're louder.
Wow. Whew.
I know all of that.
Yeah. And I totally get what you're saying about hanging out with people that don't truly support you, because it's just, you're taking on their garbage. I found this and I thought it was interesting and can be helpful, but it's basically you insert the name of the person, and then you just repeat these things. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May all your steps lead you into the light. It's hard to do when you're thinking about somebody in particular. May all the things for good work for you. I let go of our discord. I wish you well. I wish myself well. All things are clear between us now. I lay claim to this, and so it is. And it's just an affirmation for forgiveness. And I would assume you'd have to continually repeat that. How long does it take for the forgiveness to kick in? And maybe
That's such a good question. That is such a good question. And it really depends on how mad at yourself you are. And
you're mad
if
at yourself.
there was,
You're mad at yourself or mad at the other person for something they did.
you can't ever control the other person.
Well, yes.
So a situation happened and your reaction to the situation is what needs to get released so that it no longer has a charge and no longer irks you to think about it. And that's a technique I use with my clients is, okay, let's replay that scene. Who's the camera on? Oh, it's on them. I'm like, why? Who's the main character in your narrative? And they say, I am. I'm like, all right, let's reshoot that scene with you in the frame. And yeah, some annoyance happened over there. And you just say, that was an annoyance. Didn't get the parking spot I wanted, and you relabel the situation as annoyance. And then your ability to let it go is dramatic. I do not use that technique if it's been some kind of physical trauma. So if there's been rape or, some kind of
abuse or something, right?
Physical, that's really hard. That is really hard. And that's when you say, that happened, that's not who you are. That happened, that's not who you are. Let's write the story of who you are. You are an incredibly strong person. You have all of this beautiful light inside of you, and we just need to create space for a new beginning and kind of let go of the tentacles of a starfish or sea stars or whatever they're called now have incredibly strong, grippers. And the only way to get out of it is to shrink yourself and scoot right out. And so you're leaving a shell and scootling right out, and that shell is the event. You do not need to relive the event to scoodle right out. You can just say, okay, yeah, that happened. And that's hard. That's hard to do, especially if it's something that you think maybe you should have prevented, or maybe you could have handled it better. You tend to, well, I don't know about men, but women tend to kind of mentally beat themselves back up. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done this. Instead of thinking, okay, that happened. I lost a ton of money. All right. That was an event. That's not the essence of me. And usually it's, it can be financial, it can be physical. There's a lot of ways that a breach of trust can happen. Emotional, physical, financial, someone saying that they're going to do something and then they don't.
It's here, Annie, that I'm getting from this is that a couple of things. So instead of just saying, I forgive you,
right,
which is not easy.
No.
Let's be honest, depending on the situation, there's a reason you haven't forgiven somebody.
And honestly, I never use that word, but
I reframe it, say it.
I let go of that story.
And that's what I was just about to say, because by doing that, however we want to phrase it, pushing this thing to the side, you are getting the opportunity to rewrite your story. So there's a plus at the end of it, instead of just releasing it and then, all right, now what do I do? All right, well, not going to think about it. And,
that's where my driver thing comes in. This all got released.
Yeah.
But it had to get cleared.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing is, I try to look at it this way. That happened. That person is the way they are. Can't do anything about it. It is what it is. Hate to say that cliche. People always, sometimes I use that and people say, why do you say that? There's no other way to describe it. It is what it is. It's going to be. But make that a positive and say, I can't change it anyway. So, holding on to a grudge, it's not really going to be productive in the end. It really isn't. Is it easy to get to that point to release it? No, but at least there's some positive things to look forward to look at.
And for healers, we want to rescue everybody. We want to heal everybody. I have such incredible healing powers. I can heal everybody. If somebody doesn't want to be healed, they're not going to be healed. And we might want them to change. And if they don't want to, they're not going to. So they may substitute different behaviors. So if there's addictions, you might go from one addiction to another. And you haven't addressed the addiction, which is what is causing the rift in a relationship. And so I cringe every time people talk about forgiveness, because I think about it so differently that the one and done, I wrote this forgiveness letter, and the other person may not even remember the situation. And that is what I have to remind whomever I'm working with. They may not even remember.
Well, that's why I said you don't have to call them up. You don't have to write them a letter. You don't have to text them, send them an email. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. It's just that some people can't be changed. And you're probably at that point where you're forgiving them for something they did, whether they know it or not. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
And you can't change people. You can keep trying, you can help them, but really, as a friend eloquently put to me when I was at a point, maybe a year ago, trying to help other people and put this, save yourself. I'm like, but
Yeah.
what do you mean save yourself? No, that sounds so self-centered. Save yourself. I'm like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
the hell with them. I hate to say it, but at
Yeah,
that point, it's
pretty
like,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to
And
support me. Then, whatever.
once you've released it, microphone here, that space that is now expansive, how you choose to fill that up. Now that you've rewritten your script, what characteristics are going to show up with this new script? And that's my take on gratitude. That I also cringe with all the hashtag gratitude daily or whatever they are, because you have to post it on Facebook. I'm like, gratitude to me is really that moment where you stop because one of your senses just woke up. And it might be visual, it might be a smell, it might be a taste, it might be a feel. And it's just that moment when you feel, oh, I am noticing this, and it is fantastic. And it might be something you do every day. My first sip of coffee every single morning is fantastic. I appreciate it. When my boys were little, they would take turns bringing me the coffee up to bed. They would bring mommy coffee in bed, and they would, announce themselves, coffee's coming, as they came around, so that I could prepare myself to make a big fuss about my coffee. Sometimes it's visual. You see it, if you see a rainbow, everybody stops. They all whip out their cameras, but everybody stops what they're doing to enjoy a rainbow. Baby smell. Oh my gosh, that is one of the best smells, like a little clean baby. That's something that just makes you smile. A perfectly prepared dish that you were enjoying. Those are all really moments of gratitude where you are stopping, appreciating it, and just filling up that entire wonderful, I always think of, I have a beam of light going through me, and it trickles all the way through me. And it's just a way of a little filling station to have all of your just joy.
It's hard to stay in that moment. Like, I guess it's an attitude of gratitude where you're always observing and appreciating. Like last night, I have a new kitten, and for the first time,
How
yeah,
exciting.
and I've kept him in one room, but now it's time to get him out. He's about 12 weeks old. And last night I was watching a movie and just let him roam free. I couldn't believe some of the spots he got into, like super high, and he's so little. But then there was moments where he would just like jump up in the air, trying to catch a fly or whatever. It's like, look at how cute that is. Like, you got to appreciate that, because, in a year, he's going to be an adult cat. He's not going to be doing that anymore. And just take that moment to just, woof, that's good. Or take a walk with that cup of coffee too, and just look
Mhm.
around and just observe and just be in the moment and appreciate
Be
it.
in the moment. Yeah. And that's um not, it's hard to do with a lot of things being thrown
Distract.
at us so fast,
Oh yeah.
oh, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to
Yep.
do this, to really just appreciate whatever moment you're in.
Yeah.
It's your moment.
And take
It's
the
your
time to
moment.
do it and look for it. Like we take time to, you're going to binge a show on Netflix. Why not take time? I'm going to take a walk. Whoa. All right. And just look around and look at things that are beautiful that you appreciate, and others can appreciate them too. Um, so when we talk about how long it takes for when you let something go, i.e. forgive,
Yeah.
um,
It
for
can be 30 years.
Is it
When
on a
we,
regular basis, like even on a daily basis? Do you think about it saying, I am going to forgive them for what I feel they did? And like, the thing that I read before, something like that. What is it?
I just put it into the background and I choose joy. And that means that I'm neither superior nor inferior to anyone, which goes a long way because a lot of things that you want to forgive, you felt that there was an imbalance of somebody, having power over you
Mm-hmm.
rather than feeling that you had your sovereign right to behave in a certain way. Um, it can be a lot of childhood stuff, old patterns, especially if you had kind of difficult patterns with siblings. Um, and sometimes you really do need to step out of the relationship in order to work on your levels of forgiveness. It's very difficult to do if the behaviors are still
Mm.
happening all the time. And so that, and whether it's the behaviors, which happen, right? Because you can't change somebody. So then you do need to not be in a place where you're engaging in those behaviors. But it's also if somebody had died, how do you forgive somebody that's already dead? And it's exactly those phrases that you said, all is well between us.
Mm-hmm.
It's all resolved.
And you can even look at it this way. Like we're saying that you're not going to pick up the phone, or you don't have to pick up the phone and thank them. But in terms of if you believe in energy and the energy transfer, that person that passed away, they're going to receive your energy. That person that's in body that's here that you feel you need to forgive to help yourself, not them. Um, they may even pick up on it and
Yeah.
see your new vibe that's coming through because you let them go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really just is let it go.
Yeah.
I could do my Elsa. And
Right.
and say, okay, I am ready to let this go. And once you decide that you're ready to let it go, it goes really quickly.
Hmm.
But if it's part of your narrative, then it's very difficult. You're going to maybe, the analogy I use is also with a trailer. I do a lot of trailering boats. So even if the boat is off the trailer, if the trailer is still on the car, you are still lugging everything around.
Right.
You just put a different boat on there, go get the same boat back. But if you really are ready to release, the whole trailer needs to come off.
Yeah, you're still driving around. You got something in the back. Yeah.
Exactly. And it might feel lighter because the boat's not on there, but you're still lugging it around. And so you really need to unhitch the trailer and choose where you're going to park it.
And we're just about out of time, but you think about putting that letting go forgiveness off. Just, I'll get to it. I got in my time, I'll put it off. But really what it comes down to is you have a doctor visit and a procedure coming up, and I'm putting it on, I'm going to put it off. And then you go do it. And it's like, that was nothing. I just thought that really, I waited that long for that. And that's it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is a technique I do with clients to help them release the trailer, because there can be bonds, like energetic bonds from another person. And I have a technique where I just, and it takes about 30 seconds, sometimes a little longer, but to unhitch your trailer of energy that's attached to you.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, gratitude, both very powerful, both absolutely necessary. I don't care who you are. There's probably somebody that you really got to dig deep, maybe, to realize that I got to let them go because they're in a way controlling me and I'm not even aware of it. But that can help with Reiki and and energy
Yeah.
clearing as well. And that's what you do. And you can do it virtually as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. I can do it via Zoom. I can do it via phone. I can meet you in person and just clear away the pathway so that you feel ready to go and unhitch your trailer.
I was just going to say that. It really was. Annie's here to hit your trailer and she'll get that done for you. Yeah, get rid of that. You don't need that back there. It's not serving you. That boat that was on that, it's old. It's like
It's gone. It's gone. It went to somebody else, and you're
Yeah.
still lugging the trailer around.
Let them have that. They can have whoever they are. They can. Good luck with that trailer. Good luck with that boat. And we'll get rid of the trailer. redbootsreiki.com is the website. Go there, start a conversation, and Annie can work with anybody, anywhere on the planet. And here's to better times for giving and receiving gratitude and accepting it.
Yes.
Yeah. Annie, always great talking with you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And forgive you for making me forgive somebody today.
Dry your lint.
I'm going to get that done. But I am. And I wasn't kidding about that. And looking forward to catching up again sometime soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.